staying in the loop. It shouldn't feel like another job, right? You just want the important stuff, and you want it fast. That's really what we're about here. Think of this as your shortcut to being, well, seriously well-informed. Today we're unpacking the news from May 21st, 2025, and there's quite a bit. Everything from a really powerful weather system ripping through the U.S. heartland to some interesting shifts in global trade, a business comeback story, a music legends celebration, a big step in science, and, the usual market ups and downs. Ready to get a grip on what matters? Let's dive in.
Yeah, it's quite a range. It's remarkable how many significant events are unfolding kind of all at once. Really shows how interconnected things are, doesn't it? Weather, global economy, everything.
Absolutely. And speaking of connections, let's start with that raw power of nature. Over the last 3 days, a major tornado outbreak has slammed the Great Plains in the Mid-South. Over 28 confirmed tornadoes. That's shaping up to be, well, one of the most intense periods of severe weather we've seen this year. Towns in Kansas, like Grinnell and Plevna, they really got the worst of it, didn't they?
They certainly did. The reports detail an EF3 tornado. We're talking estimated wind speeds up to 165 miles per hour.
Wow.
Yeah. And to really grasp that kind of power, I mean, it can completely obliterate well-built homes. It's just total devastation. Structures flattened, trees uprooted, infrastructure damaged.
And beyond the buildings, you had disruptions like parts of Interstate 70 closed.
Yeah.
And thousands without power.
That's right. Major disruptions.
But, and this is the really important news here, no reported deaths. Miraculously.
It is truly remarkable.
It's a testament to warning systems, maybe a bit of luck too, you have to think.
You do, and it's certainly the most crucial takeaway. But the impact is still huge, Emergency responders are out there assessing the damage, helping displaced residents. And if you look at the bigger picture, meteorological experts are suggesting this could signal a particularly intense tornado season ahead, which raises that question, doesn't it, about preparedness, infrastructure.
Yeah.
Are we ready for potentially more extreme weather?
Definitely something critical to think about. Okay, let's pivot now. International arena. The UK has decided to halt trade discussions with Israel. That feels like a pretty significant move, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. The stated reason is the escalating humanitarian crisis in Gaza, directly linked, according to reports, to the ongoing Israeli military Operation Gideon's Chariots and concerns about humanitarian aid being blocked.
And the UK government was quite vocal. Foreign Secretary David Lammy called the actions morally wrong. They've even announced new sanctions targeting specific West Bank settlers accused of violence. And the PM, Keir Starmer, called for an immediate ceasefire, opening aid corridors. This carries weight.
Precisely. Suspending trade talks puts considerable diplomatic pressure on Israel. It also reflects this growing international concern. And, as the report suggests, it could really be a notable shift, a pivot, in UK foreign policy under Starmer. Shows a readiness to use, well, concrete measures for humanitarian concerns.
Okay, shifting gears again. A company story now. Tesla, reportedly seeing a major rebound in EV demand after, well, things were sluggish for a bit, weren't they? And some PR issues.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the reported link, or correlation maybe, between CEO Elon Musk's, let's say, public communication style and the company's performance. The suggestion is that by, as they put it, dialing down the political rhetoric, he might have helped renew consumer interest. Earlier this year, the data showed a drop in market share, partly competition, sure, but also potentially linked to customer dissatisfaction over his social media activity.
It really highlights how tied a brand can be to its leadership's public image.
It does.
But it sounds like the narrative is changing now. The refreshed Model Y is mentioned.
Right. That seems to be helping. And Musk himself has apparently indicated a significant upswing, both in orders and investor confidence.
Though no hard numbers yet, it sounds like.
No specific figures released, no. But it suggests that, focus on the product, maybe a less divisive public presence. It can have a real impact. It's a compelling example of that interplay. Leadership, brand, sales.
Okay. From EVs to rock and roll royalty. Rod Stewart. He's set to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award at this year's American Music Awards, May 26th.
Fantastic.
80 years young and still has that global appeal. It's amazing.
Absolutely. A true legend. Think about the hits. Maggie May, Forever Young, just timeless anthems. And apparently his last performance at the AMAs was way back in 2004.
Oh, wow. So this return is pretty special then.
Definitely adds significance.
And it sounds like a proper tribute is planned, a performance covering his whole career, celebrating his influence.
Yeah, that's the plan.
He'll be in good company, too. Janet Jackson, Gwen Stefani also performing. Should be a great night for music fans.
It certainly should be. These awards are great for reflecting on that kind of lasting cultural impact.
Now let's dig into some really groundbreaking science, a major discovery in understanding obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD.
Yes, this is potentially huge. A study has identified an astonishing 250 genes that seem linked to OCD.
250, wow.
Right. And what's really significant is the scale of the research. They're calling it the most extensive genetic analysis ever for OCD. They look at DNA from over 2 million individuals. Global databases, just massive.
2 million people, that's incredible. So what does this actually mean for understanding, for treating OCD?
Well, it could be truly transformative. The hope is, by pinpointing these specific genetic markers, it could pave the way for developing much more targeted treatments, more effective interventions.
So moving beyond maybe broader approaches.
Exactly. Think of it like these 250 genes represent specific biological variations. Knowing them lets researchers potentially develop therapies that address those specific factors. It's a huge step, not just for treatment, but also, hopefully, towards destigmatizing OCD further.
Highlighting that biological basis, facilitating more tailored support.
That sounds incredibly promising. Really positive news.
It really is.
Okay, finally, let's just check in quickly on the stock market. Looks like it took a bit of a pause after that strong run.
Yes, exactly. After a 6-day rally pushing indexes near record highs, the market did take a breather on May 20th. The S&P 500, the Dow, the Nasdaq all saw modest declines.
But this doesn't sound like analysts are too worried.
No, not according to the reports. They're mostly calling it a classic case of profit taking. After a good run, investors lock in some gains. Pretty standard.
Makes sense.
But they are still keeping a close eye on things like inflation data, upcoming Fed announcements, so there's still some underlying uncertainty there. For now, though, it seems the market is just catching its breath. Right. So, quite the range today. From the sheer force of that tornado outbreak, through international diplomacy shifts, a business finding its footing again, celebrating a music icon, that huge leap in OCD research, and, well, the market just taking a pause. A pretty comprehensive look at May 21st, 2025.
Indeed. And thinking about the weather report again, the potential for a more intense tornado season. It really prompts that deeper thought, doesn't it? About balancing economic development with, well, the realities of climate change. How do we progress but also build resilience against these more frequent, more severe climate events? It's a huge question for all of us going forward.
Absolutely something to keep considering. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. We hope this gave you a clearer, maybe more insightful view of some key stories shaping things. We'll be back with another in-depth exploration soon.